Logan and Mariko's foster daughter, sitting in a, sitting in the only Jewish deli in Tokyo. Actually, it is that. Drinking, having big, four ice cream scoops Sundays. Did you think that was the end of the story? Yeah. No, it isn't. This is what happens next. They're stuck there because the whatchamacallit, correlation hindrance that's taking place in Thor at the same time, roughly, has disrupted aviation travel across the world. So she can't get home. They have to wait for the weather to clear. And while she's there, she just wants to meditate and hang out with the kids, and have fun, and go to parties, and, do all the things that 13-year-olds are rumored to like. Logan has other ideas. Logan figures that she has just, been turned into a mutant ninja assassin by Ogun, and she wants to ditch all those skills right off the bat because she's not that. She feels she's a 13-year-old who can walk through walls, and Logan figures, no, you're a 13-year-old who can walk through walls and are also a mutant ninja assassin. And she's, I don't want to be a ninja assassin, and he says, tough. And Logan, this is where I have to keep reminding people that Logan is not a nice person. And everyone keeps forgetting it because it's the Wolverine. The Wolverine is cool. No, Wolverine is not a nice animal either. As anyone here who might have had their leg bitten off by one, I guess. And so he's basically, you have these skills, I'm going to teach you how to use them really well. And so we immediately have a dispute between Logan and Kitty, and because Logan has top billingness issues, who's going to win? And that's the first issue, the beginning of the first issue, and things go sort of not so from there. And it's a 5-issue series, which is rare because Marvel's now has now made the miniseries 4 issues. And we'll see how much fun it'll be. Starts the last week of April, May, June, July, and August. So you can finish the series just in time for Labor Day. And going back to school, which I'm sure you're all looking forward to. And then we'll see what I can, calm them into giving me next. Hopefully not another Wolverine series. Not that I don't like him, but I also had something to do with the other members of the X-Men and other writers get all the fun. I'd like to do a small miniseries, X-Men miniseries, Kurt miniseries. Oh, heck, we could do an Excalibur miniseries. Well, maybe not another 4 years, but that's, and just keep going through them. Either they'll invite me back on the book for real, or whatever.
How's working with Marvel editorial these days? Do they try to stay out of your way since you're Chris Claremont, or seems like they're
No,
not?
I haven't. Mark. Not Mark Picello. Well, I have one of the many Marks. It's like there are as many Marks on the editorial staff as there are Chris's in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We have a good relationship, and this way I am as far removed from the ex-department's management as humanly possible. And I don't have to deal with them, hopefully, and they certainly don't have to deal with me, which makes them happy. It's interesting when you're working with people who weren't even born till after I got fired the second time. Wow, wow, this is weird. But welcome to the 21st century. You know, it's like, no, no, no. Once you're defeated for president, you don't ever come back. Okay. But that's a joke for another show. Theoretically. No, it is interesting. It's like, I don't know. When one goes to, for want of a better term, a funeral, one is expected to dress a certain way. There's a color that one is expected to use to signify that this is not a happy occasion. And especially when a person is a person of some significance, you're expected to do that. And apparently, not everybody does that. So it's, you know, it's like, sometimes when you look at real life and you can't tell the difference between real life and an SNL opening sketch, it's like, no, 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 no. This is weird. But yes, it's a fiction. What can I say? This is authentic. From across the border. Only cost $350,000. No, see, the interesting difference is that in New Orleans, you get the half-liter size, which is 16 ounces. Yeah, it's this hot. It's really cool. Up to the 12 ounce is what, 355 milliliter. Is you're sitting there drinking it, and it's really good. Except you run out of this with like a chunk of your dinner on the plate. So it's like, okay, spicy dinner. Oh, do I buy another bottle? Yeah, but if I buy another bottle, I'll drink it to here, and then all this will be left. I've finished the dinner, but I have to finish this. Don't like, now I swallow it all. Now I feel bloated because I'm an old fart, an elderly person. You know, one has to know one's limitations. See, isn't the life of a writer really interesting? It's just babbling along, man. I thought we learned something. Okay, but no, I'd like to, you know, there are. It's the fun of these characters is that you can do anything with them, and it gets really silly in a good way. It's like Kitty at 13 gets caught in a fight with, you know, she's in some idiot supervillain creates some sort of power wave, and she and Jean and Logan are caught in it. Oh no, what's going to happen next? Well, what happened next is, wait, Logan's missing one of his claws, and Kitty's going, you know, because when you're 13, life is interesting. But where did this come from? Kid, I mean, of course, what you don't know is as she gets taller and her arm gets longer, oh, it's two. You're like, what? How can that happen? Is adamantium do that? Yes, it can. You know, I'm sorry, has anyone seen the commercial for the 50 superhero, 4 supervillain not X-Men movie, almost sounds like it, you better believe it, Marvel movie that's in the process, in production now? No, a positive. I mean, we've got Robert Downey Jr. playing evil person, Iron Man. Wait, that's confusing. And then he's playing 2 other roles. I used to know that. But then Chris Evans is playing Captain America, young Captain America, evil Captain America, and Captain Hydra, or something, that Lord Hydra, whatever that. It's like, what the? Why did they just cast the Avengers, the original Avengers, as all the characters, villains, assistants, sidekicks? Whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently, after denying it vociferously for at least a year, what's her face is coming back as Widow, not the Widow.
Scarlet.
No, not Scarlett Johansson. What's her face? Who had the giant rock fall on her?
Scarlet Witch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth. Scarlet Witch.
President Dalton, right? I mean, so she's coming back not only as Scarlet Witch, but a good Scarlet Witch. So I don't know if that means that the Vision's coming back. It's like all the original X-Men are coming back. For 2 weeks, we didn't know if Famke Janssen would come back, but now Famke Janssen is coming back. But she's coming back as Phoenix. It's like, oh, goodness sakes. And apparently, Psylocke is coming back, but she's no longer Asian. Still wearing the same outfit. And there's a rumor that Wolverine's going to kill somebody important, which would just. I'm sitting here thinking, why are you going to do this and make us wait for 3 years for the first X-Men movie? Why don't you just make this the first X-Men movie? Come on. Who cares about the Avengers? It's only been 20 years. Get it right now. Oh, and the FF are coming back. Oh, wait, they're already back. Or will be already back in July. And it'll establish, apparently, the FF will be back, have been back for 3 years when they run into Galactus. And it's like, yeah, but shouldn't he be taller? He's taller in the comic. It's like, Godzilla's taller. Gojira is taller. So why did it... Now you know what it's like to deal with Marvel continuity. And but I'm sitting here looking at this, and they have somewhere between 20 and 40 mainstream characters. We're talking A+ to B+, maybe with a couple of B's thrown in for giggles. Characters in this film. I mean, the number of cool chairs with labels on them that they will have to have for the actors to sit on while they're waiting to be called for their scene. It like stretch from here to, Mississippi. But are we in Mississippi?
Confirm, it sucks there.
Dude, I've been through the Dakotas. You are so behind the curve. And with all due respect, based on my country of origin, we should all be pledging allegiance to His Majesty. That's a story for another time. But it would make things so much simpler. But it's like we're going to spend a 2-part, God knows how many $billion movie, sorting all of this out, and it'll be like, you'll need 3.5 hours in the first movie just to get everybody on stage and say, let's get them off stage, and it's, geez, no. and everyone's saying the Thunderbolts, Thunderbirds, Thunderbird is really cool. I'm thinking, why don't they, you've got this unknown person in the sky who is just doing a Martian attacks scene from the Tom Cruise movie. You know, remember that from 10 years ago? War of the Worlds. And he's just like disintegrating people all over the place. Apparently he's disintegrated the Avengers all over the place, which then why are they coming back for this other movie? Never. What?
Avengers are all gone. I mean.
Come on. Ooh, what? I heard a cry. It just, I think back to when movies were 90 minutes, you know, and like, they were all running around looking for the Maltese Falcon that was wrapped up in a little bag. And A shot B and B shot C and 4 said, "Oh, Mr. Bates, I will look at another direction." Okay, go to Casablanca. Oh, I should. And then when it was all over, he waited 50 years, and the sequel showed up on TV that was, wow, this is good. Sam Spade, she gets out of prison, they hook up, and she dies. Then he comes to France, and he meets someone even more interesting, and they hook up, and then she dies. I'm going, but it makes sense. It was like, wow, this is worth watching. I want to see what happens next. Whereas these days, it's like, turn the page. Why? Because that's what you do with pages. Okay, what happens next? Turn the page. Oh. Am I fetching? Yes. Why? A, because I have to wait a year to see what's going on. And B, I'm desperately terrified that I will see what's going on, and I'll sit there and going, where's the editor? Because that's what Stan used to do. It would be, he would read this and say, oddly enough, what the dickens is going on? And you would have to go rewrite it because we actually like publishing good stuff. That was 50 years ago, before many of you were vertical. Times have changed. And if he's recording this, I'm going to be so embarrassed. I know I just stills. Anyway, enough of my babbling. Your turn. Let's do questions and answers, and I will try to be coherent. Yes. Like the hair.
Thank you. I grew up myself. All men are kings, regardless of what's under the crown.
Yeah, that comes from the same place that said all men are created equal. And the women are going,
So, yes. There's a post going around online that's going a little viral. And it's talking about how there are two types of villains that become anti-heroes. There are the villains like Venom who become anti-heroes because they're just so badass. People like them enough. They want them to become anti-heroes.
Who?
Venom.
Who?
And
There
then,
are 5 different versions of it, including Mary Jane.
yeah.
Has the potential to be the most interesting, but apparently that it's only temporary, which I think is, you know, about as dumb as seeing Peter getting married in the first place. But if you're going to turn Mary Jane Watson into a Venom, do it. That's cool. But that's just, anyway, you were saying.
But then you have the villains who become anti-heroes like Magneto, because it's getting harder and harder to say that he's wrong. So I was just wondering how you
I
felt
spent
about
5 years trying that one. I wanted him to be the hero because he's so much more interesting than Charlie. Charlie can do until I concede he put on that stupid headdress. Is diminish himself. Magneto, I mean, all he wants to do is make the world safe for his people, which is a perfectly laudable, you know, ambition. And for me, having him be the headmaster of the School for Gifted Youngsters, is like, let's start, sorry, I'm just getting a bottle opener. It's like going back to the basics. Start with the next generation, make them what my ideal, show them my ideal and go forward. And we'll have a happy ending all around. And that way people won't come and beat me up. And I don't have to wear that stupid outfit anymore. And the other reason is they're kids, they need saving, especially Ilyana. Because, like it or not, Ilyana is 99.9999999999999999999% evil. I mean, she says evil is the word can be defined, except for that one fractional bit of her that's attitude towards this is you. I am not evil. I am Yana Rasputina. I'm gonna kick your ass. Evil person. And it's, and I also look stupid with, you know, horns, animal feet, and a tail. And it's like Magneto it's like he can't let her fall to the dark side. He's got to find a way to save her. But each situation he faces, oh, I'm in the good, this is the bad, but if I just step a little bit over the line, I can win the day. And of course, everybody else in the team is going, no, 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 no. Because each time we do that, the line moves. And you just go further and further and further. So he's desperately holding on to Ilyana, who's already so far over the line, you know, and pulling her back with all his strength. Meanwhile, all the rest of the team are holding on to him with all their strength, desperately trying to pull him back. For me as a writer, this is cool. This is conflict. This is something you can all sit down and go, oh, what's going to happen next? Because ideally you shouldn't know just because they're good guys and we don't have the code anymore. The comics code, we don't know who's going to win. We don't know how this is going to turn out. We shouldn't know how this is going to turn out. And you're ideally sitting on the edge of your seat, getting to page 20 and going, 30 days, jeez, you know. Because I remember the time when on the third Thursday of every month, there was a queue outside comic book stores of people who were so desperate to find out what was going to happen next, they had to stand up outside, line up outside the comic book store to buy the issue, to sit down, read it, either scream at me or have an argument with their friends over, oh my God, what's happened now? And we have to wait another 30 days for the next issue. To me, that is, yes. And why there aren't more writers equally desperate and equally enthusiastic about bringing back that idea, you know. Sorry, I remember the days when after Star Wars 4, which was then just Star Wars, and you a line 3 circles deep going around the theater in New York where it was playing, we're talking about 1,000 people waiting over the course of days to come in and watch the movie. Nobody does that anymore. I mean, assuming you can find a movie theater that's actually open. But you want to be in love with the characters. You want to be in love with the series. It should mean something. Granted, it only costs 75 cents to get it, to find out about it, to discuss this with your friends, with your parents, with your grandparents. Yes. You know what it's like to go through 3 generations of readers as the author? It's like, oh, damn. It's like, eat your heart out, J.K. Rowling. Why didn't I keep those characters under my own ownership, you stupid boy? But that's what it's a competition. And the best way to win competitions for me anyway, is to be better than everybody else. And also talk too much. But that's the thing about, for me, with the X canon is it's all romance. And there are 30 characters spread over for me anyway, spread over all the titles. And if you don't like one, there's always another one. Keep going to the one that makes, other than Wolverine and Nightcrawler. It makes your heart go, oh yeah, and they become important. And A, that shouldn't be a bad thing, and B, let's see what happens next. Let's have fun. Let's. If you love it, hoorah! If you don't love it, write a letter. Yell, because we have no other way of knowing whether you like it or not, unless the sales go down. I mean, it was really cool selling 7.8 million copies back in the day of X-Men 1. My ambition was to sell 1 million copies of X-Men 12. Of not just people buying 100 copies of each of the issue so they could sell it online, because God knows everyone will want it. It's so rare. But to come back in a year or a year and a half with 1 million readers who fall in love with the book, fall in love with a character, who want to see what happens next because it means something to them as an adventure, as it's more fun than watching TV, because you can hear the voices in your own mind. You can put the people who want to play the characters in your own mind, and it is so much more intimate to each and every reader than it is watching a movie that, okay, I like Mark Hamill, or I like, X or Y or Z, but you're stuck with it, and you're stuck with that on the screen. Here, everything outside of the 20 panels is all here in your head. You can go in any direction you like, which means you're part of the creative team, which means the characters can love you back, even if yourself, you don't have to worry about what your friends think, because it's all yours. I mean, difference is I know I'm right, but that's all. Anyway, that was the dream back then. Didn't quite work out that way, but what the heck. Yeah.
So how are you liking the new miniseries you've been doing for Marvel? The Wolverine deep cuts, Deep Pop Wolverine coming up here in a few weeks.
I like it a lot. It's more fun than just sitting around my office twiddling my thumbs. No, it's nice to know that Marvel still wants to keep me busy. It's nice to know that someone out there is reading the books. I mean, the frustration is.
The idea, or do you go to them?
No, basically what it is we'd like you to do another Wolverine story. Okay, but look, this all started with the Gambit series, and the Gambit Rose series was a whole lot of fun. I'm a thief. She's my 12 and a half year old sidekick. Never going to see us coming. And the whole point of it's like Gambit will rob you blind if you're a villain. He'll borrow things if you're a lovely lady, but half the time he'll give them back. It's like there's a scene in the Gambit where he and Ro are looting, gambling riverboat full of people with more money than they know what to do with. Shame on them. Let's face it, when you've got 12 figures, when you're in the hundreds of billions of dollars stage, you don't need it all. And maybe there's some people in this country who need some of it better. And maybe you don't want to raise taxes, just give out some money. But that's a whole different story. But they steal like some money from each, from the, you know, from the safe of each high roller. Not a lot, not enough that it would actually be noticed, but enough to make a difference. And they buy food and stuff and give it out to the needy people after the boat's gone on its way. Along the way, though, Gambit meets this not quite elderly, but mature lady, and they have a nice exchange, and he swipes this family necklace, which is gorgeous. And then, like a page or two later, he hangs it around the neck of his girlfriend. And the lady sees him do it, and she doesn't mind. It's like, well, it's a good cause. But then, 2 pages later, at the end of the story, he shows up and gives it back. Just was alone, because he's a gentleman. We don't see what happened between them after that, but it's none of your business. You're all. That's, you know, but for me, I would have loved for that to be an ongoing series, because it would just be, we'll sail up and down the Mississippi and we'll have fun. Oh, wait, the last arc takes place in, I don't know, this city that's NASA works in. They launch rockets. Who'd ever do a story set in Alabama, North Alabama, Huntsville? What the heck? Just because no one's done it is all the more reason to do it. But it's like you go places no one's ever thought of going. You do things that you're not used to seeing, and you have fun. The whole point is, again, having fun. The last line of the book is, what do you want to do next? Well, let's have fun and rob somebody. It's, and then the next series after that was Not for Poor Nights, which is, hi, remember that one off that Jim Lee and I did? Well, this is what happens 3 hours later. And we close the circle between what happened in 1940 and what's happening now. And this time the widow gets to win, whereas before she was a victim. That's what you can do with this stuff. The series I'm doing now is, it talks about how Mariko and Logan feel about the state of their relationship. And there is a conclusion. How Kitty feels about everything she's going through. I mean, as she says to her father, I helped save the universe twice, but I don't want to do this anymore. It's icky. I want to go back home and hang with my friends and go to school and be a normal person. I don't like being a superhero as much as I used to. And her dad, who she thought would support her, says, tough. Oh, there's a phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. And if fate has given you all these abilities, you've got to find a way to use it to make things better. And I know it's hard, but that's because you're 13. You have to grow up into it. And I'm sorry. As he says, best part of my life is I was hanging out with my best friend Chucky. And we were both captains, and we saved lives. We were the best search and rescue team anyone had ever seen. And I'd fly the Halo to where we needed to go, and Chucky would go out and rescue people. I could never figure out why no one ever shot at us. And Chucky said, well, I make sure they can't see us. And they shoot out into space, thinking they're shooting at us. How do you do that? Well, I'm not really talking at you. Wow. That is so cool, Charlie. How did you do that? He was teamed up with Charles Xavier back in the war. So, supposed to be a smile on. But that's it. These guys all have a life that predates superhero stuff, and you can play with that. Or at least I can. Why just accept that everybody wears skin tights from the very beginning? No. Charlie had a life. That life had consequences. You know, and same with Kitty. She had, Logan's been a part of her life from farther back than she ever imagined. But he never told her, and we were never allowed to print it. So, or at least it hasn't been reprinted for like 30 years. So, some of you who are mature people know this. Some less mature have to go back and find the issues. But that, for me, that's what I was taught working with Stan, and that's why I like it.
So you mentioned that, X-Men is like a romance, and a lot of it is like really into family dynamic. And no family is more complicated than your Dependent on Summer. You had Scott Summers' dad, was like a space pirate, of course, there. And you have Rachel Summers coming back from the future. And of course, there's also that.
Back from the future. Coming on the next.
Well, yeah, alternate timeline, alternate future. That's a whole other, but also, of course, the Madeline Fire and Jean Grey and Scott Summers triangle attack. Yeah.
As opposed to the Wolverine, Emma Frost, Scott triangle.
Yeah. Bill, where's the, what was the inspiration behind making, his dad the space pirate?
What's wrong with it?
Nothing wrong with it. It's really cool. It just becomes,
Well,
so,
except, he became a spice pirate. Space pirate because the evil emperor killed Scott's mom.
Yeah.
It's just, there are only so many Errol Flynn movies one can survive without stepping on Nightcrawler's toes. Basically, it came out of, there are things that Dave Cockrum and I love. There are things that John Byrne and I love. There are things that Paul Smith and I love. There are things that Frank Miller and I love. Ideally, you incorporate all in and see what you can come up with that's, as the saying goes, really, really cool. And the hope is if I like it, if we like it, if our editor likes it, then you guys will like it. And as Archie Goodwin was fond of saying, if they don't like it, you got 30 days to fix it. But you were saying about,
I was trying to put title. Thank
I thought Scott was the coolest character in the team. Split up his wife. And because that is something that happens in the real world. For me, comics are meant to be an ideal. This is what the real world should be. And if you want what the real world is, do it for a heartbeat. But it's got to have a happy ending because we're not. We're supposedly the epitome of something a little bit better, a little bit more positive, a little bit more gentle. And it's easy to do villains. It's easy to do misery. It's easy to do, wow, let's have character A and character B have sex. Well, let's make character A older so it works. Okay. For me, that lost out on 5 years of growing up. I mean, to me, the adolescent ages of the New Mutants and the X-Men are what make the book so cool. Because, granted, back in ancient history when I was writing it, when you screwed up as an adolescent, you usually got a do-over. You weren't thrown out of the country. You weren't thrown into jail. You weren't treated like a grown-up criminal. Obviously, times have changed, but that doesn't mean, at least in a comic story, in an adventure, you can't A, express the idea that there is another way, or B, fix it. I'm really interested, curious to see. I mean, Thunderbolts is the vision of one view of the world with the mysterious supervillain who melts people, much like the Martians, or the Worlds, if anybody remembers. But it's also intriguing to see how the FF, which looks like a totally different vision of that, view of that world treats it. And how that's all going to evolve towards the 70-seat, you know, multicultural event. Would be so nice if the X-Men just took over. Leave them all out and said, we're not Avengers anymore. We have nothing to avenge. We're just going to make things better. Ooh, that would but that's just,
You guys have one more quick question.
what? God, I really do talk to you. We'll do fast ones. Yes.
So there's a quote from another area of the so it says you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself turn into a villain.
Yep, I saw that quote too.
So is there any research that you think are uncorruptible, or what would you love to see?
All of them? I don't think anybody, there's no one who's uncorruptible. There are those who can, but it's more fun to have characters who are flawed, but keep coming back to fix it. I mean, Kurt's probably the closest to uncorruptible in the team, but that's just me. Yeah, yes.
There used to be there was a question that was like, who do you think the strongest Avenger is? So I want to ask you, who do you think the strongest X-Men?
What's the context? Strong body,
Um,
strong mind.
Emotionally, powerfully, just kind of a mix of all the abilities you think is the strongest.
I would probably say at this point, the jury's still out. The closest I would say is Kurt. Because like it or not, faith is an essential part of his life, and his approach to faith is very specific, very centered, very personal, and very real. So that sustains him. That's why when he came back from going to heaven, dying and going to heaven, he was heartbroken, because how could he didn't know how to sit there talking to his priest and say, I have been to heaven, there are angels, there is a God, it's real. Because how does it work if you know it's real? Can you have faith if it's, I mean, faith is a hope, not a reality. But fortunately, that went out the window fast. I honestly don't know. Who do you think is the strongest? Okay. I mean, with or without the adamantium?
I mean, I think without powerful, but I mean,
Okay, that's the thing. It's like real life. You don't know who is the strongest, who is the person you would bond to, who you would focus, who you would follow. It depends on the situation, which I think to me is like the ideal way to do it. It's like you find yourself following someone or working with someone because they're there and they're right, and your back brain is telling you this. So, one last question. Who's really? Okay.
What's
And
your
then
problem?
you can
Mary
come by
Jane?
my table. I'll answer
Okay.
anything.
What's your problem with Mary Jane? I'm clutching my pearls.
Oh, you mean Watson?
Yeah.
My problem with it? Gwen Stacy. No, my problem with Mary Jane is not Mary Jane. Mary Jane was cool. Mary Jane and Peter getting married was a mistake. Anybody in comics getting married other than Reed and Sue is generally a mistake. Because once you get married, you're off the board. And once you're off the board, if you're reading it, it's like, you want to be sitting on the edge of your seat. Will she, won't she? Will he, won't he? But the other side of the coin is, if she's the love of your life, you don't go to the devil and ask for easy out.
Okay.
If Mephisto gave Mary Jane an easy out, which involved Mary Jane Fatal, that she was married. Oh, and they did make a pledge to higher authority. It wasn't a civil ceremony. I was there watching it in that stadium, along with all the rest of them. There has to be a gotcha. So I figured, okay, if Mephisto's got a gotcha in there, it's got to be Mary Jane turning into one of the Venomals. That's comic is. All sorts of stupid things. I happen to think if you're gonna turn her into a Venom, turn her Venom. That's all. It's. I get the same question about what's my problem with Jean. I mean, why in God's name would Jean, would Scott and Wolverine like Emma? So Wolverine's 500 pounds, and we don't want to go there with any physical relationship. I mean, adamantium for Christ's sake. It's just, and the problem with being Jean is they're going to kill you every 5 issues. And the real, see, in my vision, sorry, I'm talking too much, I know. Let's go. The real problem with Jean is that in my vision of the omniverse, she and Logan are immortal. And so she can love Scott with all the passion she has. Logan can love Mariko with all the passion he has. In 150 years, they're both going to die. Like it or not. And where are you going to go from there? Well, you just got to keep going. And, you think Doctor Who has problems? Any road, thank you very, very much. Talking like I'm paid by the word. I always talk. And as I said, if anyone has any other questions or wants to just hang out, come by the table. I'll be there all afternoon. And it was really a lot of fun. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it, and I hope it was worth it for you guys.
Thank you.